Hello, Judith. It's Tan here today with your birth chart reading. So, I'm super excited to be doing this reading with you today, and I hope that you will take pleasure in what comes out of the reading today. So, before we get started, I would like to invite you into a short meditation with me so that we can stay grounded and be receptive to the energies that's coming through to us today. So, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and just take a deep belly breath in. Feeling your belly expand and slowly breathing out. Just letting go of anything that you've been carrying with you throughout the day or the week, and just being fully present here today with me. Being open and receptive with an open heart and an open mind to whatever messages the universe has for you today. Now, I want you to just take a couple more deep breaths in and out in your own pace. And whenever you're ready, just slowly coming back to the room and opening your eyes. And we shall begin. So, Judith, in the email that you wrote to me, I have it in front of me. So, you've got a couple of very intriguing questions, and I'm very excited to be going through those questions with you today. So, some of the questions you have are what do you need to know in order to call in your life partner? What will he be like? What is a good match for you? Are your expectations realistic? Have you already met him? Will moving to the States be supported? How? When? So that's about love and relationships and partnership. And then you had a few questions for your career. What is most aligned for you? When will that unfold for you? Or do you stay in your current job? All right, so I feel like a lot of the things that you're struggling with right now have to do with partnerships, love, and relationships. So I'm going to make that the main focus of this reading today. And when we have some time, I'm going to definitely go into your career for you as well. So I will be using the astrological birth chart, using the whole sign house system, as you can see here. And I will also be incorporating human design and the gene keys into our reading as well, of course. And I will have a little bonus for you as well, because I've been studying a new system that I think is very helpful. It's a numerological system. So, Judith, you were born on the 6th of January, 1988 at 3:32 p.m. in the afternoon in Hong Kong. So, with this information, you have a Gemini rising or ascendant at about 13 degrees of Gemini. And you have your moon in Leo, 9 degrees of Leo in the third house, your sun in Capricorn, 15 degrees in the eighth house. So, okay, I'm seeing a lot of emphasis in your charts in the seventh and eighth houses. So you have Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, the part of fortune, the sun and Mercury in, well, Saturn and Uranus in the seventh, and Neptune, the sun and Mercury in the eighth. Both the seventh and the eighth house have to do with partnerships, which is the seventh house. So the seventh house is about how do you commit to another and the type of person that you can really commit to long term, which you have ruled by Sagittarius. So it's ruled by Jupiter. And then the eighth house is things that happen after you decide to commit to somebody, meaning like, joint resources. Are you going to share a bank account? How are you going to share everything in your life? What kind of things are you going to open up to each other and be vulnerable about? Sexuality, the in-laws, your husband's family and relatives, things like that. So these are all eighth house things, right? So there's a lot of emphasis, a lot of energy in these two houses for you, but they are planets that can definitely be more challenging, like Saturn and Uranus and Neptune. Although you do have the sun there, which tells me right away that it's going to be very important for you in order for you to build your ego structure and to build your self-confidence. This happens when you're able to really be intimate with another person. So I would assume, of course, in regards to the questions that you had for me, that you are currently not in a relationship and you would like to be in one, which makes a lot of sense with your sun being here because the sun is that part of us that represents our ego structure. It's how we feel confident about ourselves. And so if you are not in a relationship where you can really go deep and be intimate and share resources with another person, it can feel like there's just something missing in your life. Like there's a part of you where you are not able to shine fully because the sun is where you want to shine, right? So you can do these things very well. You can, like for example, be very fair in sharing money with another person. Maybe if you have to plan a wedding, you can be very fair in how you're going to do that. You can be a provider in a relationship, after marriage, for example. So these are like some of the things that really make you feel good about yourself. And so it's very important for you. I can definitely see that. Now, the other thing that the eighth house also rules is it also rules the values of other people, understanding what other people value and catering to that, but also aligning that with your own values. And it also, of course, rules any kind of investment that you might make. So, investing big sums or large sums of money into something in order to get a return for that money. Um, and yeah, I would also sometimes I look at the eighth house as inheritance as well, and it's opposite the second house. So this can also indicate that maybe it's your father or maybe it's someone in your family that is somewhat maybe wealthier in a sense, and is able to provide you with some kind of support, whether they are alive or whether they're not. So you have that kind of support that can come your way, but maybe it's through crisis that you gain it, or maybe it's through a more difficult or challenging situation before you can kind of gain that kind of fortune. I'm also sensing, because the eighth house also rules the occult. It rules, well, I would, you know, look at it as you can say witchcraft or any kind of practices that have to do with the dead, with the spirit worlds, with psychology and the subconscious. So these are all things that are in the eighth house. So these are things that build your self-esteem for you. And so that's kind of a really big and important part of your life. And that's something that, yeah, I felt like I had to mention at the beginning of this reading. All right, so let me just take this out first. Okay, let me see if I can. So I'm seeing that a person who will be like a good match for you. So let's look here at the seventh house. So because your seventh house is ruled by Sagittarius, naturally, someone that is a good match for you will have to be a good communicator of some kind. That's very important for you. Will be have to be somebody that can expand your mind and expand your horizons. So you definitely look for somebody that's a bit more adventurous, somebody that is able to give you a different kind of experience in life because you kind of want to experience a lot of things in life as a Gemini rising, and a Sagittarius person will bring in something different into your life. And so it looks like you live in Canada, but you were born in Hong Kong. So my question for you would be like, how long have you lived in Canada for? Because when you have Sagittarius on the descendant, sometimes this can show that a foreigner or a person of a different cultural, sometimes religious background can be a good match for you because they are definitely going to bring a whole new world to you, kind of like Aladdin and Jasmine. So if, for example, you have been living in Canada your entire life, you've moved there since you were very young, then, somebody who is, we can say, for example, very typically maybe, you know, similar to you or maybe Canadian, depending on how you grew up, of course, is maybe not going to be a good match for you, that maybe you'd be better off dating somebody overseas, for example. But if you've just recently moved to Canada, for example, and you've spent a large part of your life in Hong Kong, somebody who is from the States, from Canada, having that kind of cultural background might actually be a good match for you because they're going to be very different. So someone who's just very different from the way that you grew up is important. Because you might find that if they just have something that is either one, very similar to you, like they're too agreeable with you in a sense, it's just you feel limited and restricted. Or two, if the person that you're with is very traditional, that can also make you feel quite limited and restricted. And you definitely don't want to feel those two things with a Sagittarius descendant and a Gemini rising. Okay. So now you have also Saturn and Uranus in the seventh house, and they're conjunct, right? So you are in for commitment. If you can find somebody that is willing to grow with you, evolve with you, change with you, maybe do something a little bit weird and wild and unpredictable, that is the person that you would like to commit to. So Saturn does, indicate that, yeah, you do want to get married. You're somebody that maybe has that kind of mindset. If not get married in the traditional way, then at least be in that kind of traditional partnership with one person, build a house, a home together, maybe have a family together, whether your family is actually having children or whether your family is like, having pets or tending to a garden together, but like nurturing something of some kind with a partner. That kind of traditional view is actually very, very important for you, but you can't do it with somebody who's just unawakened, right? Because Uranus is the awakening planet. So if you're with somebody who is a bit ignorant, quote, I'll use the word ignorant here, meaning that they're just kind of they feel like, this is the way life is, and, they have to be married at this time of life, and they're just kind of they're they're not thinking for themselves. They're not going through the awakening journey of discovering what they really want in life. And they just think and feel, and they're conditioned. They're still conditioned by family to have a family. They haven't awakened to their true and higher self. That's not the right person for you. So you want somebody who has awakened to their truest and highest self, but in their highest self, they do want to have a family. They do want to be a little bit committed. They do want to be committed to you, but they also enjoy adventure. You're looking for those two things at once at the same time, if that kind of made sense. So, not one without the other. Again, so also if you have somebody who's just very Uranian, they just don't have any Saturn in them, meaning that they're just very focused on like progressing society. They're very focused on the causes they want to make, the revolution they want to create in the world. They're very focused on being unpredictable and just maybe they're even a little bit polygamous, that may not be the right person for you, but maybe they have some of those qualities, but they also have the more traditional qualities. That kind of made sense. So they're awakened, but they're awakened to their true self, and their true self tells them that they are here to also build a foundation with someone, one person. That is the kind of compatibility that is best for you. So your seventh house is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is over here in the sign of Aries, in the 11th house. Okay. So Jupiter being the 11th house tells me that the way that you might meet this person might be one of the following ways. Sorry, let's drink some water there. So you might meet them through a large organization of some kind. So if you work in, sometimes the 11th house can really indicate like big financial organizations like banks and things, but it doesn't have to indicate that. It can be just a large nonprofit organization, just like a large organization. Maybe that is where you meet them. 11th house can also indicate that maybe you meet them through friends. That's another way of looking at it. Maybe it's an online meeting. Maybe it's like you're just on dating app and that's how you meet. It can also indicate maybe this person is very public because the 10th and 11th house can indicate that you know this person because they're famous or they're public or they're online. Like maybe they have a YouTube channel or maybe they have social media account because that's what the 11th house can indicate. So maybe they're there. They're very you can say because Jupiter here is in a square to Mercury, so maybe they are like teaching something or they are expanding people's mind in one way or another, and they're on this big platform. Maybe they have a podcast, maybe they have published something. You know, these are the various different ways that you might know them. You're knowing them from their fame or their publicity, right? So these are the different types of and also, of course, meeting them through communities that you belong, that you join. Yeah, sometimes like Discord server is something that I'm thinking of here as well. Now, because Jupiter is in a square to Mercury as well, I really feel like the right partner for you when they do come into your life, they are going to be very mentally challenging and stimulating, and you are going to have a lot of conversations and debates and have a lot of fun debates and fun conversations too. This is not like a boring, you know, type of energy. It's like worldviews might be different, but yet that's exciting. And you want to talk about it and you want to debate about it and you want to talk about the controversies of life and different philosophies. And that's fun. That's exciting. And Jupiter is also in a square to your sun, which indicates that somebody that acts like a friend to you might be very good for you. And I think that's really beautiful because, of course, we think when we're in a, you know, sexual relationship, it has to be very romantic and it has to be very intimate. But that's really just the romance is really just 20% of a relationship. The rest of the relationship is really just being friends and getting along and accepting each other for each other's quirks. And that's definitely something that you need in a partner, somebody who has a high tolerance and a willingness to understand you and your weirdness and your quirkiness, and maybe is open to your interest in the occult, which can indicate that with eighth house planets. And I have more to say on that later on in the reading. You have something very interesting going on in terms of the occult and magic and things like that, but that'll come later. But you definitely need somebody who can accept that part of you. All right, so that's going to be the astrology part. I'm going to come back and I'm going to look at some more stuff in your astrological birth chart. But I want to take this onto human design, the gene keys, to dive a little bit deeper into the planets and the angles in terms of the human design, the gene keys, right? So, I'm not sure how familiar you are with human design, but it's based on the same information. So, it's based on your birthday. And you can see that it's got these, like, this is your body graph, and there are different geometrical shapes. And these different geometrical shapes, like the squares and the triangles, they represent energy points. So, kind of like chakras, but a little bit different. So, for example, you can see that you have three energy centers that are white, right? You have this one, this is the ajna. Sorry, that's the crown. That's the crown, the head center. This is the ajna. And this is the solar plexus. They're white. So white energy centers indicate energy where you don't produce that energy in your body. You are more absorbing of that energy from the environment, from the people around you. And then you have other energy centers like the throat, the G center, the heart, or the will center, the sacral, the root, and the spleen that are colored in. So you produce these energies in your body consistently every day. And as you can see, you are a very energetic person because you have a lot of energy that you actually produce within your body. Being a type in human design called pure manifesting generator, this is a very energetic type, also very physically energetic. So you definitely need to be physical and burn your energy off every day in order for you to have good sleep and have good health. But basically, I wanted to connect some of these points, some of these things that we were talking about into the human design. So I wanted to first connect your Jupiter. So you see Jupiter at 20 degrees of Aries, right, which rules your seventh house. So Jupiter is falling into gate 51. So gates are like doors that open in the different centers so that energy can flow. So you can see gate 51 is over here in the heart or the will center in human design. And in the gene keys, which is derived from the different gates of human design, Jupiter is what is called the pearl in the gene keys. Okay. So the gene keys is a really cool system. I love it because it gives words to these numbers. So as you can see, gate 51, there's agitation, initiative, and awakening. So agitation, the lower word, is the shadow side of it. So it's when you're living your life in fear and your heart is closed off, you will likely manifest this particular word in your life. And initiative is the gift. So this is when you open your heart and you're offering this gift to the world. It's the gift of initiative. Then we have the city of awakening. So the city is an enlightened state of being. It's when you don't have to do much anymore. It's kind of just um yeah, it's like when you're just like a Buddha, like energy. So I think it's really interesting that you have this sphere, which is called the pearl, that is the same as your relationship seventh house ruler. Because what I see here is that when you do find the right partner for yourself, it's almost like you're very lucky. And that's the thing about Sagittarius energy and Jupiter. It's a very lucky sign and a very lucky planet. So I think that you have a lot of potential to meet the right person that's going to bring a lot of prosperity, like the pearl and the oyster. When you find a pearl in an oyster, it's like, whoa, it's like prosperous, it's abundant, right? So it's kind of like that. So your partner has the potential to bring you a lot of prosperity. And this is prosperity that is going to come in the form of initiative. So I sense that this person can bring you a lot of energy to start something, to be maybe gives you a lot of courage and bravery to trailblaze and to do something new that nobody has ever done before, to be the first to do something truly unique. However, there's a little bit of a challenge here for you too, because you can also see that you have the sphere, right? At the bottom. This is your purpose sphere. And you can see that your purpose is the same as your pearl. It's gate 51, agitation, initiative, awakening. So what this tells me is that, the purpose sphere, it's at the bottom of your Gene Keys profile. So it's the root of the tree, you can say. And your life's work and the pearl, it's at the top of the tree. It's what we can easily see. The purpose is deeper. So what this tells me is that in order for you to find this person, there is an element of grounding that you have to build for yourself. And so this is something where it's kind of like you have to be a whole person first before you can really draw somebody in who is also whole. And then you're in this relationship of two wholesome people. If you are feeling like you're lacking something and you're looking for someone to complete a part of you, that is when you go wrong here because the purpose is the same as the pearl. So it means that you have to manifest this root part of you. First, you have to water your roots before the flower can bloom, before the leaves can bloom. The leaves and the flower is like the pearl. The purpose is like the root. So if you're not watering your own roots, that flower will not grow. So therefore, take care of your sense of groundedness. What brings you grounding? And so when you have the 51, and you can see it's a 51 line 3 as well, and it's called movement blood. So what actually brings you grounding? It's super interesting, is actually movement. So maybe exercise or taking on a bit of I would say, and please listen to this with, your own interpretation and your own judgments, of course. But maybe like extreme sports of some kind gives you that sense of grounding. But you want to do it from an understanding that, this brings you grounding, this gives you energy. Don't do it from agitation or from fear. Don't, jump out of an airplane because you're feeling angry about something or because you're feeling bored about something. Do it because, it's what's important is the intention behind it. So you have gate 53 as your evolution, and the 53 is all about the intention behind something, right? So the intention behind why you are grounding yourself in these very unique, risky ways is has to be coming from a place of deep sense of self-care and not escape. Another thing that the 51 can also indicate is it doesn't have to be like a physical thing, but I think for you as a manifesting generator, a lot of it will be physical too. That's line three, like moving somewhere new, changing your environment. It's also really important. But this can also indicate something like, starting a business. So you also have here, it's called your incarnation cross. Maybe this goes into your career a little bit too, but your incarnation cross is called the right angle cross of penetration 4. And it's a very business savvy type of cross. One, it can be very good with um entrepreneurship, right? And that takes courage and bravery to be able to do something like that. So that might be something that you find is your purpose. But the cross of penetration can also indicate that you are somebody that is here to share a message with the world, and that message might be a little bit penetrative. So, being able to do something that's a little bit shocking for people to see. The creator of human design, his name was Ra Uruhu, if you've heard of him. I think he was born on the cross of penetration with his son in gate 51, and he was shocked into receiving the messages of human design. So he was penetrated by the messages of the universe, and they gave him all of these gates and these, different chakras in human design. And then he penetrates and shares that with the world and shocks the world with this new system. So it's kind of like that. It's like allowing yourself to receive maybe downloads. You do have your life's work in the gate that has to do with ascension. So kind of like a Kundalini awakening. Maybe you had that kind of an experience and you change and transform in very profound ways. And then you give this message to other people, this Kundalini awakening or whatever that you have received to others. And it kind of shocks them and surprises them a little bit. But you're here to shock some of us. And that is your purpose, actually. So stepping into this purpose will allow you to draw in the right partner for yourself. So I guess this part of the reading is a combination of sort of like your life purpose and also your relationships because they are related as we can see. Okay, I think I paused the reading there. Now I'm back. Okay. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about with you is yes, this is very, very fun and very interesting to talk about the specific degrees of your descendant. So you have your descendant at 13 degrees of Sagittarius. And the exact degrees of the descendant can be very interesting because it can also indicate shadow work. So, a part of yourself that if you work on, you will be able to draw somebody into your life who will most likely represent the higher qualities of this particular degrees of your descendant. But if you are not doing the shadow work involved here, you might manifest somebody into your life or call somebody into your life that is going to bring the particular shadow of this particular degrees. And that can be difficult in relationships, although very important, necessary, because they are shining a light on your shadow. So you can work through it by them displaying their shadow. That makes sense. So you have here, this is an overlay of both your astrological planets, placements in your birth chart, and the gates of human design and the gene keys. So you can see that your descendant in Sagittarius falls into gate 5. So you can see it's right here. Okay. 13 degrees. So gate 5, this is from the Gene Keys website. It has a shadow called impatience, a gift called patience, and a city called timelessness. So another thing that I am seeing that is a big part of your shadow work is being patient, learning to be more patient, because you can be impatient when it comes to commitments with another. So this can manifest in different ways. So maybe this is an impatience in terms of like you know somebody for a month and it's like you already feel like we have to get married, or you commit to them very fast. But this can also be an impatience in terms of you just knew somebody for 3 months and you already don't want to be with them because suddenly all of their real self is coming through. And when their real self comes through, it's there can be an idealism with Sagittarius, right? And then when there's an idealism and when that idealism breaks and the person shows himself for who they really are, and you're like, whoa, that's not what I had expected. So let's end it. So that can manifest there as well. And so when it comes to relationships in general, I would say for you is to have that discernment. And discernment is really important in your chart because you have Pluto. Okay. So Pluto's in Scorpio, 12 degrees in the sixth house, and it's in a square to your moon. So I'm going to talk about the square between Pluto and the moon very soon. But Pluto, because the moon is the planet that has to do with intimacy. When you're getting close to somebody, it's the moon that really shows up. In relationships, it's the moon, it really shows up. And when Pluto's in the square to the moon, Pluto becomes a bit of a challenge in your life here too. And Pluto's in gate 44. And gate 44 in human design, it's over here and it's in this center, which is called the spleen. And the spleen is all about your intuition. So 44 has this shadow of interference, a gift of teamwork, a city of synarchy. And Richard Rudd, the creator of Gene Keys, calls it the gate of karmic relationships. So you can see this pattern that occurs here, that it's almost as if, the importance of karmic relationship is for you to learn about yourself. If you were never really with somebody long enough, you would never know yourself. So this is true for all of us. It's like 2 years, I would say, is when we kind of reach that point where we can't hide our true selves anymore. Because at the beginning of any relationship, we put on an image, and some people can put on this image for like 2 years. Doesn't really go beyond that, I think. And some people, put on the image 3 months, the first 3 months you meet. Some people have this, image for a year. It really depends. But when you're first meeting somebody, it's very hard to know that person. And usually it takes about 2 years to really know somebody. And when you really know somebody, that is when you begin to understand the patterns of your relationship and why you are with this person. And to really get to that point, first of all, it requires a lot of patience. So that's one way I would want to look at that is I feel like you've got the opportunity here to really be in karmic relationships. And the reason for it is to learn more about yourself, is for you to grow and for you to evolve. It's for the other person to shine a light on parts of you that you cannot see unless you're in a relationship. And that takes time. However, there's another side to this too, and I feel like maybe you go back and forth. And the other side to this feels like the impatience of jumping into relationships too quickly. And yeah, it's just kind of like jumping into the relationship too quickly and maybe feeling like time is running out. So it's the intention behind being in relationships because you feel like time is running out. So in either case, the discernment here is to be able to use your intuition to sense into the other and whether they are, a karmic relationship that is meant to heal or whether it's a karmic relationship that is meant to wound and end. Or maybe wound and heal. But, there's like these different purposes. And so, there are relationships where you're together and there's a heartbreak, you really hurt each other. But then it doesn't last and you have to move on. And those kind of relationships can really, make us feel hurt. And I feel like you've probably had experienced those type of relationships as well. And if you have experienced those types of relationships, the challenge for you is going to be how can you still trust the next person that comes into your life? Because sometimes when you've been hurt in the past, that makes it hard to trust the present and whatever happens in the future. And then because it's hard to trust and it's infused with this impatience, it can make you just kind of jump around, kind of like, okay, this person could hurt me. I'm sensing that they could hurt me. So let's move on. It can be that kind of energy too. So the discernment here is to use your intuition to be able to see if this person can be trusted or not, in a sense. And there's two things I want to say about this is that you want to feel safe around the person that you're with. Right? You want to feel safe in a relationship. That's very important. And so you want to use your intuition to help you to feel whether a person is feeling safe for you or not. However, life is life. And although somebody might feel safe, like super safe, they might feel 100% safe. I want to tell you that you can never really trust anybody 100%, right? But just to be able to have that feeling of safety from a um, clear intuition and not fears of the past repeating itself, right? So intuition is in the moment. Intuition is how you feel when around somebody in the present moment. Fears and defense mechanisms are coming from the past. And so you have to heal those past wounds. And that's when the moon square Pluto comes in here as well. So I'm kind of combining a lot of things here. But that moon square Pluto is asking for you to heal from past heartbreaks, past betrayals. Because if you're not healing from that, and healing means like, going to therapy, doing somatic work, maybe, doing hypnotherapy, whatever that's stored in your body that's really painful from the past, you have to heal from the body because the body stores memory. And even though your mind says it's healed, it's gone, but if the body takes longer to heal, and if the body is not healing, the body will respond with a fight, flight, or freeze mode. And that fight, flight, or freeze mode is not an accurate um, interpretation of whether somebody is safe or not. That is a way that the body is protecting you in the present moment based on a past experience. And if you're protecting yourself in the present moment based on a past experience, you only get the past repeated in the present, which means you can never fully be present with somebody. So you want to heal from the past so you can be fully present with another person to really sense if they are safe for you or not. And if you have that clear intuition and that person feels safe, right? Be with them, learn from them, see what they bring into your life, have patience. Have patience. And yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to mention with that one. And there can be another way that this works, meaning that, you've been hurt in the past, but your body kind of is very idealistic. And so you've been hurt in the past, but your body's not protecting you. And so you keep repeating relationships that are painful over and over and over again. So you keep drawing wound mates into your life, wound mates and wound mates and wound mates over and over again, so that you can learn to, heal and then be in the present moment with somebody to sense if they're safe or not. So I hope that kind of made sense. And if you're feeling really confused and you're not sure what I'm talking about, just like drop me some questions in an email and I will see if I can make it clearer for you. So yeah, that is the moon square Pluto. And so your moon, because the thing is like I think this moon square Pluto is really important in your chart and especially in relationships. It's very important to do this work because if not, you may find that you just you you feel isolated and you feel like an outcast and you just can't really connect with anybody in whatever way, shape, or form that is. It's just not working out for you. And it's because of the intimacy that you need to have with yourself, right? So your moon is falling into gate 33 in human design. And so the Gene Keys keywords for that is forgetting, mindfulness, and revelation. This is the gate of, well, it's the gate of memories. It's called victim of your memories, right? So it kind of makes sense how your memories and your past can kind of hold you back from the present and the future. So, gate 33 can be the gate of retreat, as it says here in the I Ching, it's gate of retreat, meaning that it's very important for you to have your own space, especially if it's the moon. It's very important for you to have like four walls, your own room, your own house where you cultivate it and it feels like a safe haven for you. And I feel like your journey of maybe going on retreats or retreating will help you to build better intuition. Because when you're alone, that is when you're most yourself. And if you're around somebody, you know, when somebody's in your energy, right? It'll make it easier for you to sense how your energy is shifting and changing around somebody. That can only be um, felt and understood if you've had enough time alone to really feel into your natural state and your natural way of being. But make sure that your retreat is balanced. So 33 can also isolate themselves and always alone and always be in their room and, kind of always be that retreat and, finds it hard to actually socialize and go out and meet people. And so you want to have that balance. You want to be able to, be in your own space, reflect, heal yourself. This is the gate of the medicine woman, you know, healing yourself with some kind of medicine, wellness, retreats, and then step back into the world and, be in that kind of healthy relationship with another. Okay, I wanted to mention to you that you have two very interesting transits happening for you right now. So Saturn is currently in Pisces, the transiting Saturn. So it's in your 10th house. And Jupiter is currently transiting Gemini, so it's in your first house and probably conjunct your Chiron as well. So these are perfect opportunities to heal. Healing brings abundance. There's an abundance of healing, but also, this is a really good time for you to relocate. So I have a lot of Gemini rising friends, and every single one of them have moved abroad, actually. They've moved and lived abroad. And if not, then they've really had a big drastic change in their home. So they've either like bought a new house because the 10th house is opposite the fourth house, which is his home, and also big career changes. It's really time for that. So if you are currently feeling like this itch, like you need a change in your career, or you have this new idea about something that you need to be doing differently and changing in terms of your career, this is a time for it. And if you feel like there's an itch to move or to relocate, to change your life over again, this is the time to be doing it. So that's just kind of something important that I'm seeing here to maybe kind of get you moving a little bit, give you that initiative, I hope. Okay, so I want to go a little bit into your attraction sphere here and your SQ in terms of the gene keys as well. So, so the attraction sphere here is representing, so this is Gemini energy. It's representing the unconscious moon. And it's about intimacy with yourself, self-love, and your deepest desires. So, your deepest desire I see here is to have self-assurance. So, your deepest desire here is really to be like, we can say a confident person and to build your physical presence in a sense. So, cultivating that is really important for you. And you see, the shadow here is called superficiality. And superficiality has the same kind of theme as impatience. It can be busy for busy's sake. So you can be somebody that's just busy because you want to appear to be confident and self-assured with life, and that is superficial. So true presence and self-assurance is about patience. So you have this theme of patience and timelessness appearing a lot in terms of relationships. And here also, when it's in the attraction sphere, I also want to encourage you to dive deeper into the reason behind why you are attracted to certain people. Is it a superficial reason? Is it a reason that you have because you saw it on TV or because somebody said that this is, attractive? Or is it because it, how do I say, it's it's easier to get that kind of person. And so you can make things happen faster, you know? So really tuning into and being present with yourself in terms of what's really attracted to you in another person, what's really important for you in a relationship. And I hope that I kind of brought a few things here onto the surface for you as well. Yeah, there's this quote that I saw on Instagram the other day, and I thought it was really, really interesting. It said, "Don't look for a spiritual man. Look for a man that is kind, honest, open, understanding." So something like that. It's kind of like, you know, especially in the spiritual community, there's this emphasis on going deep with somebody and um being with a spiritual person, somebody who meditates and does tantra and, can kundalini sexually awaken you with his like masculine, like whatever, like, can like that's superficial stuff, right? It's like at the end of the day, that's something that you're attracted to for maybe the first 2 years of your relationship. But after that, all you want is somebody who can be a friend, somebody who can listen, somebody who is kind, you know? So it's kind of like think long term and think energy efficiency, right? Because in the first 2 years of any relationship, we can spend a lot of energy on someone. But after that, we are more likely to have our own lives. We have careers and family and health and all these other things and mortgages and whatever that we have to take care of. And we can't always be, obsessed and put our energy into somebody like we could the first 2 years. So thinking, superficiality would be like, okay, the first 2 years of a relationship, what makes me attracted to someone, right? But presence and being self-assured is like, I want somebody long term. I deserve somebody long term. What does that look like for me? What does the king look like for me as the queen? Kind of like that. So that's kind of what I wanted to bring out here. And the SQ is that point in the chart. It's in the middle of your profile and it indicates the best type of relationship for you. And having gate 50 there means that harmony and equilibrium is very important in a relationship with another person. So at the end of the day, you are really looking to be in a relationship that has this almost like this is Libra Scorpio cusp. So it's like diplomacy in a sense. It's when you both bring both of your values to the table and you accept each other for your values. There is an openness because corruption is when there's an underlying manipulation or motivation, like you act a certain way to get something else. That's the shadow here. But what you're really looking for in a fulfilling relationship is being open and being open, especially in terms of like the motivation behind why you do something, why the other person does something. And it's coming from a place of real giving, real caretaking, and not for self-serving purposes. So it's kind of the type of relationship that you're really looking to create. All right. So, as I mentioned, for you, there was one last thing that I wanted to touch on is the Destiny Matrix. And so I thought this was super important, especially with the questions that you have for me here, which is mainly about relationships. But I'll touch on your career a little bit here too, because it's super interesting as well. So this is a numerological system. I'm recently just been studying it. I am not yet like a professional or anything, but it's very interesting and I definitely want to dive deeper into it. So this is based on your birth date without the time because it's based on numerology and not the stars and the planets. But okay, so you're born on the 6th, right? So this is the 6th of January, which is the 1, and then 1988, which is the 8. Okay, so when you add all of this together, you have number 15, which is your life path. As maybe you know that already, your life path is a 6, so it's a 15, 6. And the interesting thing about the system is that it's based on the tarot. So you have here, which is leading your chart. So this is your portrait. This is how most people see you. This is a big part of your personality is the 6, which is the lovers. So that makes a lot of sense that you're highly focused on partnerships. And so that is really a big part of your life is collaboration, communications with other. But the important thing about the lovers, especially in the Destiny Matrix, is self-love. It's this idea of loving yourself first before loving another. Being honest about your desires, being honest with yourself about your desires and who you are, what you want, so that you can be open and honest with another. So, what I'm sensing into here as well is like, if you feel like, relationships are not really happening for you, maybe it's because the universe thinks that maybe you're not ready yet. And when you're truly honest with yourself about what you want, who you are, like every part of you, your darkness and everything, when you're truly honest about all of those things, then the universe thinks you're ready to be honest with another person, and the universe will bring the right people to you. You also have Saturn in the 10th house, remember? So Saturn in the 10th house tends to bring delays in marriage and relationships. So have patience. Remember, life is timeless for you. So it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter the clock or the year or the month. These are man-made types of um, devices to measure time. Time is not really measured like that. It doesn't really exist in that way. So, yeah, remember that you have that gift of timelessness with you. And another really good practice for the gift of timelessness or the city of timelessness is see if you can spend a day without your clock, right? See if you can just spend a day on the rhythms of your body. Like slow down, spend a day just listening to when does your body want to eat? What kind of routines do you want to cultivate for yourself if there was no clock? Just something interesting that is really emphasized with gate five in your on your descendant in the gene keys. Okay. So the other interesting thing that I saw in your Destiny Matrix, which I wanted to bring to you, is this part, which is called your comfort zone. So this is a very important part of your chart, and it indicates something about you that you have to really sort of like cultivate, I would say, on a daily basis. It's your comfort zone. It's very important that you're in that comfort zone. It's not the kind of comfort zone that limits or restricts you. In fact, it's a kind of comfort zone that maybe you were brought out of by the way that you grew up, by your family, by your peers, and you had to really step out of this comfort zone. So now you want to bring yourself back to this grounding point, this point of this is who you really are. So you see, there's number 369. And so the number three is represented by the tarot card, the Empress. The six is the lovers, and the nine is the hermit. So you have the Empress in the middle of your profile here in the Destiny Matrix. And when you have the Empress here, this is indicating the divine feminine energy. So in your comfort zone, you really have this attractive divine feminine energy. You are able to draw anything to you. You can draw men, you can draw money, you can draw children, you can draw in animals, you can draw in beautiful anything you want. You have the powers of magnetic attraction. The only challenge for the Empress is when she is not in her self-worth. So, what's really important for you to be able to draw and attract anything into your life is having a high level of self-worth, being the Empress, acting like the queen of your life, acting like the Empress. So, as an Empress, I think that it's very important that you don't try to call in relationships or call in partnerships or men because the Empress doesn't do that. The Empress has something that she's nurturing in her life that she's really, really passionate about. Maybe that's your business. Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's your garden. Maybe it's your home. Really important for you that you have a home and an environment and a surrounding that is beautiful. So, nurturing with passion and with love, whatever it is that makes you feel this divine feminine energy, just devote your time into that and you will draw and attract all that you need into your life. And of course, this has to come from a deep sense of authenticity. So don't just nurture something in your life because you want to attract and draw relationships or money or whatever, because that's still not the intention behind it. The intention behind it is to nurture something for yourself, for you. So build your self-worth from that. So a couple of things that I would advise you to do to step into this Empress energy is number one, have a home that feels lovely for you. Have a home that is beautiful. Have an environment that is beautiful. Number two, connect with nature, connect with the animals, and connect with children. Doesn't mean that you need to have children, but being around children, being around animals, being around nature is really important for this abundant um, Empress energy. Number three is to nurture something. So most likely it can be a business. The Empress is really good at starting a business of some kind and just kind of and business doesn't have to be like traditional forms of business. Though it can be, but it can be like working online or anything like that. But yeah, it's up to you how you want to draw in that abundance of how you want to nurture something. And number four, really, really, really important. I think it's number four. Really, really important is learn to trust men. Learn to allow any man that comes into your life to be a king. Yeah, to be an emperor because you're the empress and you need an emperor. So marriage is going to be really important for you because the empress doesn't just live in her palace without an emperor. That would be kind of, yeah, it's just not complete. Her life wouldn't be complete without an emperor, right? So I know, I can sense that you would be best with an emperor by your side. But when you do find that man, it's really important that you let him be his masculine self because the shadow side of the empress, when she has low self-worth, she can be controlling because she doesn't want to lose the relationship, or she's concerned with like how the relationship is going to look to the outside. She's concerned with how things are on the surface, and also she's concerned too much with material things. And so she can kind of control that. And that can make a man feel less than. And when you do that, then the relationship is no longer in balance. So you have to be the feminine in any relationship. Like really bring that feminine energy in, be that like supportive wife in a sense. But you have your own life. You have something that you are nurturing, something that you are passionate about, and support your man in whatever it is that he's doing. So, what I wanted to look at, okay, was this particular point for you. You can see there's these three numbers here. And these three numbers represent love and relationships. But the number that's in orange here, which for you is number 18, is the key to unlocking good relationships in your life. You can say healthy, satisfying relationships. Is to work on this number. And this number is number 18. And number 18 is the moon card in the tarot. And we usually look at it in combination with the other two numbers below it. This is called your karmic tail. This is your love karma, you can say. So it's 1865. So when you combine these three numbers together, you have the moon, the lovers, and the devil. So in a past life, this can indicate, and we all have this karmic tail, but it's all different, of course. And it can all sound a little bit heavy because it is a karmic tale. And for you, this is called the karmic tale of the dark magician or dark magic, you can say, which indicates that in a past life, you were a practitioner of magic of some kind. Maybe you were a witch or some kind of practitioner of dark magic. And so I wanted to say that as a practitioner of magic myself, when we term dark magic, it's really when you are misusing or you're abusing nature for purposes that is forceful or for something that you cannot control. That is when magic turns dark. So, for example, maybe you make a potion out of plants, right? And you use it on someone to make them do something that is for your, own selfish reasons, for example. That can be termed as dark magic. So it's kind of like this energy of interfering or controlling somebody in a way that is not the best for them, but you use magic to do that. And magic is always going to come from nature, the moon, the plants, or animals, the weather. we channel these powers into energy that can be used to maneuver situations in life to go a certain way, right? And if the intention behind it is for good, then it's good magic. But if the intention behind it is to hurt somebody or to force something, then it's dark magic. So, what you're learning in this life is to use magic for better purposes and for better means. So, with number 18 in this, part of your relationship, it is telling me that it's going to be really important, I think, for you to consider practicing magic and the occult, also with your sun in the eighth house and the Mercury in the eighth house. And Mercury is your chart ruler, it's in the eighth house. So consider witchcraft and practicing some kind of magic and using that for good purposes, maybe to heal people. So, when you see here, this one, however, this other orange one is the key to unlocking your money line. So the key to unlocking the best type of career and how you can make money. And it's number 11, and this is the strength card in the tarot. The 11 and 8 are switched. Usually it's 8 that is strength, but here it's an 11th is justice, but they switched it in the Destiny of Matrix. Long story short. But number 11 is indicating to me that maybe you have this gift of physical healing or being able to work with your physical body in some ways, maybe as like a trainer in the gym or maybe nutritionist. And so maybe there's an element in which you infuse a bit of magic into healing people's physical body. This is one way I can think of, but of course, there's many ways that you can maybe look a little bit deeper into this and see how you can manifest them. But yeah, like the key to unlocking a lot of your love and prosperity, there's lots of number 11s here. And so that is indicating physical strength, emotional strength, mental strength. So cultivating strength of all kinds and taking care of your physical body, being healthy, and sharing that ability to be healthy with others, maybe through magic, is something that can be used for good, right? Like making let's say, tea, magical tea that is nutritious and healthy for others, medicinal herbs that's mixed and it's really good for people. It's very healing in a sense, or maybe some kind of meditation that's really good for mental health, so on and so forth. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here, and I hope that that was a little bit helpful for you in one way or another. All right, Judith, I feel like that was a lot of information. So if you have any questions, then please do not hesitate to send me an email and I will try to respond back with a voice message. And yeah, that's it for today. I am sending you lots of love and lots of ascension with your Gene Key 54, aspiration and ascension. And oh, maybe Halloween would be a really perfect time for you to do a little bit of magic here and there as well. So happy Halloween. Send you lots of love. Bye.